Let's welcome Dave Nakamura. Woo! Dave is the Executive Director of University Center. I should know that because I'm on their board. Dave had made a poor decision 20 years ago to vote to hire me as Executive Director of REDEC, and so he was on my board. I had to treat him with respect, but it wasn't reciprocal necessarily because he was my boss. But now I'm on his board, so he has to treat me with respect. And I treat him with respect, and he does a great job. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Here's your
you guys can guess how that goes. We're in reality.
All right.
Thank you. We got till 8 o'clock. Everybody's out at 8, roughly?
Ish.
Ish. Okay. Okay, so I'm at the university, so since I'm involved with an educational institution, I have to start with a question and a show of hands. Okay? So, how many of you have not heard of the University Center? And it's okay if you haven't. How many of you have not? Oh, that's surprising. That is really surprising because lots of times people may not know who University Center is because we're kind of a parent company. But if you truly haven't, you're just trying to be shy. There's some things underneath our umbrella that I'm sure you've interacted with and that you know of. Okay. So University Center is part of the CSU system. We are a little bit different, and that's it's even people on campus sometimes have a hard time understanding why we are a little bit different from the rest of the campus. University Center was formed in 1970. It was a vote by the student body at that time. A few of you might have actually been there at that point, but it was a way for students to have essentially a fee, a tax if you want to look at it that way, to be able to support an organization that became the University Center and the Student Union. We're a self-supporting nonprofit. We do have our own separate board of directors that we report to. 7 students, 7 non-students. Greg you're one of the non-students, right?
That's correct, yes.
And myself as the executive director, I manage the day-to-day operations, which I also call the circus. Auxiliary organization. So University Center is what's technically called an auxiliary organization within the CSU system. What that means is that we are attached strongly to the university, but we are also separate. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. Typically, the auxiliary organizations within the system offer the services that you see there. Bookstore, housing, rec centers, advancement, fundraising areas are also part of the auxiliary system. The auxiliaries, there's 23 campuses in the CSU system. Currently, there are 86 auxiliaries within the state of California. That's a lot. I just went to their annual conference last week. Dad, where were we? San Diego. I have now recovered, which is good. But it's a fun time because there's probably 600 or 700 people that come from throughout the state for that annual conference. Again, we're separate from the university, separate legal entities. Part of the reason we have a separate board is we are a separate nonprofit. We are 501c3, and that the basic intention behind the formation of auxiliaries going back to 1922 is that auxiliaries can run as separate entities, separate business units, separate administration, and that theoretically, and I think it's true, is that we can do things that the state has difficulty doing efficiently. We can do things a little bit, since we are separate from the state functions, the state accounting, all that stuff, we can do things in a little bit more of an efficient way, and that's the intention behind the auxiliary system. I should say too, California, as always, is different. Administrators that we get on campus from out of state sometimes don't understand auxiliaries in California because they are structured differently. They are much stronger entities than they are in many other states. Greg's favorite mission statement. This is taken out of our lengthy, paragraph and a half. It's about like 4 inches of
a punchy university mission statement.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. But this is kind of some things that we pulled out of it as far as what we do. This is a fancy way of saying we do things that are available to the campus community and also the local community that don't involve academics. So we have a lot of things within our portfolio that we do that don't involve the academic classroom or any direct connection to that. So this is kind of the answer of what we do. On the blue part of it is really our main core function. So we run HSU dining services, center arts, center activities, and then we have our own internal operations areas and accounting areas. And that's, especially that business and general operations, is kind of how we gain some of our efficiencies. I should say too, one of the functions of auxiliaries is the town and gown relationship. So particularly with center arts and center activities, they do a lot of things both for the campus community but also for the local community as well. The whole circus, the whole operation is 40 full-time people. Typically during a high tide season, like this would be a high tide season, beginning of the semester, all the students are coming back. When we run payroll, let's see, when was it? Would have been yesterday, the day before, we had over 400 student checks that went out. Lion's share of that employees is dining services. So we have 6 operations on campus, 24 full-time employees, and then the student employees, as you see there. The way I explain dining services on campus, and those of you that run food service or similar types of operations in the community, the way I kind of think about it is they are pushing a rock uphill every day. And it's a very big rock. They serve somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 meals a day. And so it's a big operation. We'd have the residential dining, we also have some of the retail areas, and we do full service catering for the campus as well. Those are kind of the areas that are we run on campus. Some of the things with dining that we're kind of proud of and kind of innovative on is that we do really emphasize, since we're self-operated with the dining services, some campuses have outside companies run it. Since we're self-operated, we kind of like to think that we're also embedded with the community as well. We spend over $1 million with local vendors. Local food vendors, local products, local services, all kinds of things. It's probably, I was looking at the list last night, it's probably close above 1.2, 1.3 in that range. So we spend a lot locally. We also try to cater to different types of food options, different kinds of needs, which I think we're fairly good at. That includes vegetarian, vegan things, ethnic food, etc. One of the things that you've heard of or experienced is that student financing is a big issue, both within, for HSU, within the state, within the country. We're very supportive of some of the efforts on campus with food insecurity. So OSNAP is the food pantry, and they do education, they do all kinds of things trying to support students in need. On the food area, we've basically supported them all the way through, provided them facilities, kind of some seed funding, and we no pun intended, we feed them all kinds of things all the time. We do leftover food, we do leftover caterings that they're able to distribute to students in need. J-Point Redistribution is an innovative program now that we have kind of a donation program where people actually donate some of their leftover meal points that we're able to distribute to students in need. I think it was the week, it was between Christmas and New Year's, we were able to redistribute $3,000 worth of food to people that basically couldn't feed themselves. So we did that in 1 week. The marketplaces accept EBT, which is CalFresh support. We were actually the first school in the state that jumped through the hoops to figure out how to do that for our students. Second in the country. So you spoke on that particular subject throughout the state because everybody was trying to figure out how to do it and what to do it. So we were quite proud of the fact that we were able to figure that one out. Sustainability is a big piece of what we try to do also. There are some listing of things here. We do a lot of things that would be familiar to you as far as disposable non-single-use silverware and those types of things. Aussie container is a cool thing. We have a plastic shell that you can get your meal in. You actually pay for the shell. You can return it, and there's a token system. And basically, you return it, we sanitize it, and it can be reused. And so that's a way of reducing our waste. The Mason jar program, we actually virtually eliminated paper cups on our campus for coffee. And so we encourage people to bring their reusables. And if they don't have a reusable, we'll either sell you a cup or we'll sell you a Mason jar. And our use of paper cups was reduced well over 90% that first year. We basically eliminated the paper cup. Our food waste goes to the worm dude up in, I think he's up in Fieldbrook, et cetera, et cetera. We also have a program going on right now. We actually did a grant with City of Arcata, City of Eureka, to be able to provide, basically it's some infrastructure and some equipment that's going to allow us to get even more food into that OSNAP program. Oops, what did I do? Okay, Center Arts. Everybody's heard of Center Arts, so that's part of our program as well. They do have a number of different programs. One of them is they have funding out of associated students. So we do a lot of programs that are really targeted at our students. So it's things that are attractive to 18, 19, 20-year-olds, which accounts for the joke I have with Center Arts is whenever they do an AS program, and if they ever do one that I've heard of the artist, they've chosen the wrong person. There's always things that I've never heard of, but they're super popular, quite often sold out, and they're often free or very low cost to students. This is, they do things also for special events. They do things for some of the academic departments, so they'll do ticketing, front of house, back of house. We have our own technical support areas, so all those things, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg, because when you go to a performance, that's really probably about 10% of what they do. All the setup and breakdown and everything else is quite a logistical, interesting thing. Block party was right out here. We did it 2 years. We're kind of trying to figure out what to do with it next year. It was a big event out in the plaza. We had free food for students. Last year we had a zip line. Everybody survived the zip line. We had a music event out there. Probably had, I think we ended up serving almost 2,000 meals to students out there. And what was the intent behind it was, which was cool, was especially for new students. So we had streams of people coming down to the residence halls that were new to town. Guess what? They're in the plaza and they're sitting going, hey, there's some stuff down here. It's okay to come down here. They're checking out stores and shops and businesses. So that was the second annual. We're looking at the third annual next year. That's Center Arts in a nutshell. Okay, and they do about 40 to 50 performances a year, mostly on campus, but we're also doing things down in the RCAS Center activities is another area you've likely heard of. The areas that they operate are listed there. We do run the Aquatic Center down in Eureka next to the Authority Center. We also are responsible for the Student Recreation Center. It's actually two different areas that that rec center. So also the workout rooms, the weightlifting, indoor field, climbing wall, all that good stuff. And then something that we've been known for a long time, it's where I started with this organization back in 1980-something, was doing some of the outdoor programs with the organization. Aquatic Center, been there since 2007, I believe. So it not only houses the HSU women's crew team, but also we also do a lot of things for the community and our students that involve boating education and getting out of the water out there in Eureka. Rec Center, this was put online about 2005. It really is the main workout area on campus for athletes and also for general student body areas. There are days where we have close to 2,000 people go through that building in a day. A little bit of a listing of some of the outdoor programs that we do. We also do a lot of training programs. One of the things that we do a lot of is things like training EMTs, wilderness first responder folks, and also doing all the outdoor activities. One of the things that is both a blessing and a challenge is most of our students, even in this, or most of our employees in this area are students. So we work very closely with the Recreation Administration Program and some of the other programs that emphasize outdoor activity. We offer those. One of the things they did, Center Activities did last year, they were involved in a national contest, and it was for college campuses, and they kind of had a cool app, and basically everybody registered. If you were doing something outdoors, you logged that time in, and it was a contest from throughout the country. 2-3 years ago, they actually won it. They got enough activity on an 8,000 person campus to be able to win this contest. And we're competing against schools that are 30,000, 40,000 people. So to be able to win that was kind of cool. So we got the recognition and the bragging rights, and I kept telling him, as long as you beat Chico, I'm happy. And then the other thing is we actually got a whole bunch of, we got $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of equipment that we were able to turn around and offer that to our students for almost nothing. This year we won the West Regional, so I think we lost to some school that you wouldn't
That
have.
was that tiny school.
It was Texas.
Yeah.
They had
You
to
were
cheat.
just jamming.
They cheated. They cheated.
Yeah. He was like, oh, I'm hanging out with my cat.
Yeah, I know. But there's a silver lining. We still beat Chico.
Yeah.
So, we have an internal operations area. We're responsible for, I don't know how many different facilities on campus. I have to count sometimes. It's probably around a dozen facility areas on campus that we have to run. We also run some of the information services for the central area of campus, vehicles, etc. The auxiliary, the philosophy behind auxiliaries, this is a good picture for that. So for all that stuff that we run, we have a relatively small accounting staff. So we run all of our accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable, human resources, all that good stuff is run with a fairly small, efficient staff. We also are responsible for the bookstore. We did outsource that to a national company back in 2011. Thank God we did, because that's a very difficult business, as you can imagine, with digital content and so forth. Fall runs hundreds of stores throughout the country. The advantage for the campus and for our students is because they are such a big company, they can do things that we can't do. Okay, so they get volume discounts, prices drop. Their electronic delivery systems are very robust, things that independent stores simply could not do. So that is something that we've been working with for 8 years. Continual evolution in that content delivery area. We also manage the Arcata Community Pool, which a lot of people don't know. We've been doing that since 1993. What we do is we offer higher level administrative services, and we also do all their accounting and HR and so forth. Arcata Pool, sometimes people think it's owned by the city. It's actually its own special district. So they have a separate board that I get to play with and report to and work with that facility as well. And that's us in a nutshell. That's the University Center building behind the clock tower, if you don't know where that is. Information there, contact information, myself, and all that Facebook stuff. Hey,
A couple questions real quick.
when I was teaching, I always just say when I needed to go fast, I was teaching graduate school on this topic.
There you go. Thank you.
Quick question about the finances. Does the university own all the facilities that you're using, and do you use them rent-free?
Technically correct. That's a good question. So part of our being an auxiliary is we're financially independent. The operations of the facilities is all part of the university. Essentially grants us the right to operate all the things that we just talked about. And then the facilities, you're correct in the sense of all our facilities are slightly different. In some instances, we do pay rent, especially on the commercial services areas. In some instances, we don't, but it's also student supported. So it's a kind of a complex mix of things.
Do you get any money from the university? Or is it all-
Nothing directly. Nothing directly. We more tunnel money back into the system rather than the other way around. So we're not general fund supported. And that is part of the key core of auxiliaries. We're not directly state supported.
Annual budget?
Depends how you look at it. A little bit over 15 million.
And all self-supported.
Yeah.
And it's been a real education for me. I got asked, and I'm on an appointment of the previous president and subsequent presidents to the board from the community. And I knew Dave, and so when they called and said, hey, would you like to be on this board? I said, I have no idea what it is, but sure. Which is my general approach to anything. And
he wanted to be my boss.
yeah, right. Finally, I'm back at him. But learned a lot, and I'm a real supporter. And it's kind of nice because I'm really the only non-university affiliated person on the board. So I, believe it or not, don't edit myself much when I'm there, because the worst they can do to me is say, we're not going to report you to the board. And, you know, so anyway, that's been a lot of fun as well, so.
And to add to the question that you asked too, the reason I kind of hesitated is because it's so complicated. There are some due tos, due froms, the pool's kind of separate. Bookstore, we get rent from them, so I don't really count their gross revenue. If you really added everything together, it's probably over 20.
Yeah. All right, well, let's thank Dave again. And appreciation for your coming today. We've made a donation to the Wheelchair Foundation in your name. And it says AJ Gonzalez, but you have the coveted Greg Foster signature.
Okay, good. And I got breakfast.
Yeah, and you got